The air in the kitchen hung heavy with the scent of burnt toast, a bitter edge that clung to my throat as I stared at the note on the counter. Gone to meet a friend. Back late. Lila. The words, scrawled in her hurried cursive, sliced through me like a blade, sharper than the dull ache I'd carried for weeks. Her handwriting used to feel like a love letter, even in grocery lists. Now it mocked me. Each loop and curve a lie I couldn't unsee. I crumpled the paper, my knuckles whitening, and tossed it toward the trash. It missed, landing beside the sink where her coffee mug sat, lipstick smudged on the rim, red, bold, unfamiliar. I'd asked her last night, my voice soft, almost pleading. What do you want for a gift, honey? Our 10th anniversary was days away, and I'd hoped to bridge the distance growing between us. Lila had looked up from her phone, her hazel eyes flickering with something, guilt, maybe, or irritation. You disappear, she'd said, her lips curling into a half-smile like it was a joke. But her gaze didn't meet mine. It hadn't for months. The house felt too quiet now, the kind of silence that amplifies every creak, every whisper of doubt. I paced the hardwood floor, my socks catching on a splinter near the dining table, where we used to laugh over wine. The memory stung, her head thrown back, her laughter bright, her hand brushing mine. When had that stopped? When had her touches become fleeting, her smiles rehearsed? I sank into a chair, my fingers tracing the grain of the wood, searching for answers in its grooves. The first sign had been small, easy to dismiss. A late night at work, she'd said, her voice breezy as she kicked off her heels. But her blouse carried a faint whiff of cologne, not mine. I told myself it was nothing, a colleague's scent lingering from a crowded meeting. Then came the texts, her phone buzzing at odd hours, her fingers quick to swipe them away. Work, she'd mutter, but her eyes darted, avoiding mine. I'd wanted to believe her. I'd clung to the Lila I knew. The one who'd cried in my arms when her mother died, who'd kissed me under a storm-soaked umbrella, promising forever. But forever felt fragile now, like glass ready to shatter. I stood, my legs unsteady, and wandered to our bedroom. The bed was unmade, her side a tangle of sheets, as if she'd wrestled with sleep. Her nightstand drawer beckoned, half open, a sliver of shadow inside. I hesitated, my pulse thudding in my ears. This wasn't me, snooping, doubting, unraveling. But my hand moved anyway, pulling the drawer open. A receipt fluttered out, landing face up on the carpet. La Rose Boutique Hotel. One night. King Suite. My breath caught, a cold fist twisting in my chest. The date was last weekend, when she'd claimed a work conference out of town. I sank onto the bed, the receipt trembling in my hand. My mind raced, piecing together fragments I'd ignored. The way she'd started wearing perfume again, a musky scent that wasn't for me. The late nights, the locked phone, the way she flinched when I touched her shoulder. I wanted to scream, to throw the receipt in her face, to demand answers. But a deeper part of me, raw and aching, wanted to be wrong. I wanted her to walk through the door, laugh at my paranoia, and pull me into her arms. I wanted the Lila I loved, not this stranger slipping through my fingers. The front door clicked open downstairs and my heart lurched. Her heels tapped against the floor, deliberate, unhurried. Evan, she called, her voice bright but brittle, like thin ice. I shoved the receipt into my pocket, my hands clammy, and descended the stairs. She stood in the foyer, her coat draped over one arm, her hair slightly mussed, as if she'd been caught in a breeze. Or someone's hands. Hey, I said, my voice rough, like I'd swallowed gravel. Good time with your friend? She froze for a fraction of a second, her fingers tightening on her coat. Yeah, she said, forcing a smile. Just catching up. You know how it is. Her eyes flicked to the kitchen, then back to me, searching for something. Suspicion, maybe. I wanted to ask about the hotel, the cologne, the lipstick that wasn't hers. But the words stuck, heavy with fear of what they'd unravel. Dinner? She asked, moving past me, her shoulder brushing mine. The contact sent a jolt through me, equal parts longing and rage. I followed her to the kitchen, watching as she opened the fridge, her movements too casual, too practiced. The crumpled note still lay by the sink, a silent accusation. I leaned against the counter, my fingers grazing the receipt in my pocket. Lila, I said, my voice low, trembling. Where were you last weekend? Her hand paused on a bottle of wine, her shoulders stiffening. I told you, she said, not turning. The conference. In Seattle. Really? I pulled out the receipt, my heart pounding so loud I thought she'd hear it. Then why do I have this? I held it up, the paper shaking in my grip. Her eyes widened, just for a moment, before her face smoothed into something unreadable. It's nothing, she said, her voice too calm. A mix-up. Probably from work. A mix-up? I stepped closer, my voice rising. A hotel room, Lila? For one night? When you were supposed to be at a conference? The words spilled out, jagged and raw, each one cutting deeper. She turned, her eyes meeting mine, and for the first time, I saw it, guilt stark and undeniable, flickering in her gaze. Evan, don't do this, she whispered, her voice breaking. Please. Don't do what? I snapped, my chest tight. Ask why my wife's lying to me? Why she's sneaking around, coming home with someone else's scent on her. My voice cracked, and I hated how vulnerable it sounded, how much I still loved her even now. She flinched, her hands twisting together. It's not what you think, she said, but her words were hollow, crumbling under the weight of truth. I didn't mean for it to happen. The confession hit like a punch, stealing my breath. I staggered back, the counter digging into my spine. Who is he? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Tell me, Lila. Who? Her silence was worse than any answer. Tears welled in her eyes, but they didn't fall. She looked at me, not with defiance but with something softer, regret, maybe, or pity. It was a mistake, she said finally. A moment. I was lonely, Evan. You've been so distant, always working, always. Don't. I cut her off, my voice shaking with fury. Don't blame me for this. But even as I said it, doubt crept in. Had I been distant? Had I missed something, pushed her away? The questions clawed at me, blurring the line between anger and guilt. I'm sorry, she said, her voice small, fragile. I didn't want to hurt you.